Are you ready to see real growth on Instagram with a brand new account this year? I am here to share what exactly I would do if I was starting out on Instagram from scratch and how I would grow really, really fast. I actually recently did this with our education account. We grew it to over 1,000 followers in less than 3 months. So if you're looking for my exact tips, strategy, things to do, things that are actually going to work and things that I've actually used that have actually worked, then keep on watching because you're gonna love this video. The first step to growing your account fast is going back to the basics. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have a really strong foundation for what kind of account you want to grow. Know exactly what niche you are in. This might mean picking a niche and sticking with it and creating content based around that niche. This also means things like optimizing your bio, having a strategic call to action, having a strategic link that you're using that call to action to point people to. It doesn't do you any good to grow your Instagram account if you're not actually using it to grow your brand as well. So making sure that you have all those things in place is really going to be vital to your success. And in addition to those reasons, having a really strong foundation is important because it gives people a reason to follow you, okay? So when we're talking about how to grow an audience, how to grow followers, how to grow just your reach when it comes to your account, you need to make sure that it's very obvious who you are, what you do, what your brand is all about, what your business is all about. If you have a small business, making sure that it's very obvious from the get-go when someone lands on your account, they know exactly why they should follow you, okay? So if you're all over the place, if your content's all over the place, if you're not very obvious, like who you are in your bio right away, it's gonna become a little bit muddled, right? People aren't gonna know exactly like why they should follow you and what they're following you for. So it needs to be very obvious so that when you're getting that reach, that those reach and those views turns into actual followers of people that you're trying to attract. The second key to growing really fast on Instagram is to post consistently. Now, notice I didn't say post every single day or post a certain number of times every single week. I think what matters more is just being consistent in the way that, or in how often that you're posting, and it isn't an exact formula. And this is gonna look really different for every single person. So there are two main things I like to keep in mind when it comes to creating a posting schedule that's actually gonna work for me. Number one, thinking about what my goals are on Instagram. Do I want to grow really, really fast, or am I okay with some more slow, steady growth? Or do I want to see new followers, right? Like really focusing on growing new followers. I'm gonna focus more on reels versus photo posts, or maybe I'm wanting to engage my current followers, so I'm gonna focus more on like stories and photo posts, okay? So it's gonna look really different, like what posting consistently looks like and how often you're posting, or even like what type of Instagram content that you are posting. And then secondly, I like to think about what's your current capacity, okay? So someone who is like a parent and also has a full-time job on top of trying to grow an Instagram account is probably gonna have a way lower capacity than somebody who, works for themselves full-time and is at home 24/7, okay? So it really depends on those two things, like your goals and then also what your capacity is, and kind of merging those two and creating a posting schedule that works for you. I'm a huge fan of you creating a schedule that, one, is something that you can actually keep up with, right? And again, it's based on those goals and based on where you're at and what you can realistically keep up with. I also like to think about this when it comes to what time of day you should post. Do something that's going to allow you to be consistent more easily as far as posting on a more consistent basis, on a daily basis, if that works for you. And we actually have down in the description a free posting schedules download. So if you're interested in learning like what those different schedules could be based on your capacity and Instagram goals, there's actually some sample schedules of what we think are really good ideas based on where you're at with those different things. And it explains way more if you go ahead and download it. So it's completely free. The link is right below this video. You can go ahead and download that if you want to. The next key to growing on Instagram really fast is sharing reels. Okay, so especially if we're talking about growing our followers and audience, I kind of hinted to this in the point before this, but reels really is where it's at when you're trying to grow followers right now on Instagram. When you're looking at where can I spend the least amount of time and get the most return on that time investment in growing followers, reels is where it's at. And again, you do have to make sure that your reels relate back to your niche. That's why it's so important to make sure you really nail that down, that you nail that down for your account, that it just makes sense, that the reels you're creating make sense for the kind of niche that you're going for. But reels is really a great way to fast track your growth and to see amazing growth. I mean, before reels, like we did not see the kind of growth that we can see with reels nowadays because they are primarily pushed to a cold audience, which is people that don't follow us, and it gives them the opportunity to find our account and to follow us on Instagram, which is absolutely incredible. The really awesome thing about reels is there's so many different ways to do reels. If you've done any research on trying to figure out how to grow on Instagram, chances are you've come across reels, maybe even come across one of my reels videos. We have literally dozens dozens on this channel. And there really are so many ways to do it. So, you know, trends are really big right now with Reels. That can be a really easy way to get started because trends can typically be you doing something or using a certain audio or even like lip syncing to an audio that can be as short as like 3 seconds long, and you can see a lot of impact within those types of Reels. So that can be a really cool way to jump on what's like relevant within the app and within Reels and what's trending and happening within the app. But there's honestly so many things you can do beyond that in creating like your own original content, showing up behind the scenes as it relates to your niche. You can show education, entertainment, you talking to the camera, giving tips. There's so many different things you can do depending on what your niche is, and you can find a way to make Reels work for you in a way that feels really authentic and genuine to you and your brand and how you want to show up on Instagram. I also want to mention too that if you've already tried sharing Reels and you're kind of stuck with the growth you're seeing with them, to keep going with the point I shared before about posting consistently. Consistency is so important, and views and numbers and followers isn't the only thing that's important with Instagram. Developing and growing a strong community is also really important, and that comes with showing up consistently for your audience you already have, responding back to them, DMing them, making sure you're responding back to their comments. Like, all of those things are really important, and not just the views you get on your Reels. But I also want to mention that sometimes Reels can take off literally weeks after you post one. So like, I've had Reels before that I've posted and they've kind of tanked. At least for my account at this point, I have over 90,000 followers on my personal brand account, and when I post a Reel, maybe it gets like 5,000 views. For me, that's really, really low, right? Like, it's not reaching a ton of my followers. I would say somewhere around like 20 to 30,000 is a little more typical. Like, it reaches a lot of my followers, also reaches some non-followers. And then if a Reel starts to gain traction more than that, I consider that viral for me in a way. But sometimes it takes longer than a couple of days for Reels to take off. And that's why I'm also a huge fan of Reels, because they have a longer shelf life than something like posts or even stories, right? Stories last for 24 hours, then they're gone. Posts, I've seen them, you know, reach maybe 24 to 48 hours after posting a photo post or like a graphic or a carousel. But Reels, I've seen Reels that I posted maybe 3 weeks prior start to gain traction and gain hundreds of thousands of views. So just because a Reel doesn't do well doesn't mean it might not do well in the future. Just keep being consistent, keep showing up, make sure everything relates back to your niche, be there for your community and your audience, respond back to them, and just keep going, because I promise the more that you're consistent in all of those things, the more growth that you're going to see on the app. And we also have a free Reels class. We'll also put a link to that down below if you want to grab that freebie as well. It's a 1-hour class on basically the top things you need to know when it comes to growing your reach, followers, and customers with Instagram Reels. So we'll be sure to include that link down below too if you want to check that out. All right, then the next key to growing on Instagram is to engage your audience. And this is what I kind of started to explain. I feel like every single point I like kind of start to allude to the next point before I jump into it, kind of getting ahead of myself. But when I say engage your audience, it's really, really is so important to make sure that you are engaging your audience in a way that's building community, right? That you're engaging back, you're responding to DMs, responding to comments, and that you're creating content that's engaging, not just trying to bring new followers in, but that's engaging for your current followers. So this looks like creating engaging stories, I would say Reels. You can definitely focus on creating Reels that are going to make sense. If someone who's never seen your face, heard of you, seen your name before, that they're going to see it and want to come to your profile or to your bio to learn more. With photo posts and stories especially, you want to make sure that those are geared more towards the people who already know who you are and are familiar with you and your brand, right? A great way to do this on stories is to do things like quizzes, polls, stickers. I found these to be a really great way to engage my current audience, get them used to interacting with my content. So when they see my content in their feed as well, they're already kind of used to interacting with me, right? And it's just a great way to boost your story views overall as well. Question boxes can also be a really awesome way to engage your community and to make it even stronger. I've recently incorporated a strategy of doing weekly Q&A with my audience every single Wednesday, and it's been a really cool way to like almost chat back and forth with my followers a little bit more, engage them with what's going on, let them ask any questions that they might be wondering as it relates to my niche, right? So that can be a really awesome way. You don't have to do it weekly if you don't want to, but I found weekly to actually be really awesome, and I always get new questions every single week, which is really cool, especially if I'm seeing new followers come in from Reels. It really helps them to to, like if they have questions, if they're seeing those questions being asked, maybe they can ask them themselves. It's a really great way to engage your followers, and maybe even think about the people you follow on Instagram. What makes you more engaged with their account? Chances are a lot of them do Q&As. I've noticed a lot of the accounts I follow, I feel the most connected with, do some sort of form of Q&A on a I won't say weekly basis, but on a regular basis, right? They make it a part of their regular rhythm when it comes to what they post on Instagram. Anyways, with all of that said, bottom line, make sure you're just creating community with your audience and listening to your audience, talking back to your audience, and making sure that they feel like they're not just talking to a brick wall, right? That they actually have someone on the other end who's engaging with them. And I think that can actually be a huge benefit of having a smaller account, is it's a lot easier to keep up with responding to DMs and engaging back, and really making a lot of the members of your community feel really seen and known through the way that you interact with them. All right, the next key to fast growth with Instagram is to make sure you have a sales strategy. So this, again, is gonna look so different based on what your brand is, what your business is, what your goals are when it comes to Instagram. But if you are, no matter if you're wanting to grow an Instagram account to be a content creator, I've done that with one of my accounts, whether you want to grow an Instagram account for your business, right, to support your business sales, you wanna make sure that you have that end goal in mind, okay? So if you are starting out and you're like, I wanna be a coach, okay? So you're probably gonna want people to book a call with you, right? Like to book a one-on-one coaching call. Have that in mind in the way that you are, your niche should relate back to coaching, right? Make sure you have a link in your bio where people can book those calls with you. Make sure you're encouraging that in your DMs. Make sure you're sharing about it in your stories. If you are wanting to be a content creator, get started with collaborations. Even if you're a really small creator, you can often get gifted collaborations very easily, which means you are creating content and posting it, and maybe even giving it to the company to use for their own marketing purposes in exchange for free product. It really gets you in the door with some companies, and also helps you to get experience in working with brands and creating that kind of content. Or another example, maybe you're gonna wanna start selling some digital products. So a really great idea would be to start an email list, right? And make sure you're pointing people to joining that email list, so when you have those products that you want to share, that you're able to reach your people directly, because an email list is huge when it comes to digital products. Again, just think about what your niche is and what makes sense in this realm, but you wanna make sure that you're thinking through this long term. Like what kind of niche and what kind of content I'm sharing is gonna support long term what I want to do in the end, and how I'm planning to monetize. Because chances are you probably aren't just doing this for fun, right? I mean, maybe it's fun right now, and if you're creating content and you're building your Instagram, I want it to be fun for you. I want you to have fun with it, but make sure you're thinking about the end goal, because you can't just do it for free forever. It needs to support something in order for it to be super sustainable for you. If you want to go over and watch that free Reels class, or download that sample Instagram posting schedules freebie like I mentioned in this video, we'll have those links right down below. You can go and grab those right now if you want to, and dive right in. We're so excited to have you here. If you're brand new, be sure to also subscribe to our channel, because we upload new videos every single Tuesday, all surrounding growing your brand online, creating content, and we would just love to serve you in that way and have you stay up to date on new videos. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. Bye guys.